Welcome to Next in Queue, the podcast for contact center and customer experience professionals. Next in Queue is brought to you by Happy 2 Vision. Eliminate blind spots and see right through every conversation with Happy 2 Vision. Learn more at ajppitu.com. Now, here's your host, Rob Dwyer.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining yet another episode of Next in Queue. My name is Rob Dwyer, and I am your host on this podcast about people in the customer experience and contact center industries. Joining me today, Jeff Songster of Diggs Pet. How are you, Jeff?
I am doing very well, Rob. Thanks for having me on today. It's very exciting. How are you doing?
I am great. We just touch base actually because of a post that you did on LinkedIn. And I was like, I'm going to check this guy out. And then I saw kind of what you had done over the course of your career. And I was like, I want to talk to this guy. And so here you are. It was really just, 3 weeks ago, probably, that we first chatted.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, one of my infamous LinkedIn posts. Every now and then, one will gain some traction, and for better or for worse.
That one
that could be a little controversial at times. Yeah, exactly.
Caught fire. So, like most of my guests, I want to know kind of where you're coming from and kind of take us back a little bit. So, first of all, I know that you're in Florida. Did you grow up in Florida? Are you a Florida native?
I am not. I've been in Florida for about 10 years this coming May, which is very exciting. I was born and raised in a very small town in Ohio, basically on a cornfield. So I'm a country guy at heart. And I was, I tried out school for a little bit, really wasn't finding anything that really hit my passion, nothing I was really excited about. I had worked at a couple of bigger theme parks up in Ohio, and that was a lot of fun for me. So I decided, if I'm going to work in a theme park, I probably should work at one that's open year round, so I wasn't unemployed for 8 months out of the year. So I applied to come down and work at Disney, and that's kind of how I started my career down here in Florida. Yeah, and I started off on the Disney College program and drove the Kilimanjaro safaris at Animal Kingdom for a while, and then kind of just worked my way around the parks and eventually landed in a contact center. And that kind of just launched the career that I have today, which I'm very thankful for. I ended up going to school at the University of Florida, go Gators, and graduated there with the Bachelor's of Tourism, Hospitality, and Event Management. So yeah, so 10 years, very, very exciting times down here in Florida. It's hot all the time, very humid. I think I'm kind of looking to make my way back up north, though, in the next year or so. We'll see.
So I recently learned that there are some pretty amazing theme parks in Ohio, and I had no idea.
Yes.
So where did you work in Ohio?
Yeah, so I started off working at Cedar Point, which is the big one. Everyone knows Cedar Point. And then I also spent some time, I grew up near Cedar Point. So Cedar Point is very near and dear to my heart. I still go every single year. It's my escape. I love it so much. But I did want to Cedar Point offers a lot of housing. So you can work there if you are international, or if you're outside of the state of Ohio, you can come live there in a little dorm. And I just thought that was so cool that people who had never lived in that state got to come and work at this theme park. So a couple of my friends and we ended up actually booking a hotel for the summer just outside of Chicago. And we lived in this little efficiency in Waukegan, and we worked at the Six Flags Great America just outside of Chicago, which was
nice.
Thinking back on it now, it was literally one king bed. I had a blow up mattress. There was one or two burners, a sink, and then a hotel bathroom, and we literally lived in it for 5 months, me and these two girls. And it was it was a good time.
Things you are willing to do when you're really young and dumb, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was like, that sounds like a great idea. And now I'm looking back on it man, that was so stupid. But it was, I tell you what, though, people always ask me what was the best moments of my life, or that was by far best summer, hands down, easy, hands down.
That's fantastic. So you You mentioned going to Florida, the University of Florida, and I'll just say Rock Chalk Jayhawk because that's me, and I can't just let that go Gators just stroll by without a retort. But you went for hospitality management and event planning and those things. Is that because you were at Disney? Did you have other thoughts? Like, what was your thought process in choosing that?
It's a great question. All I knew at the time when I was deciding that I eventually wanted to go back to school is I loved working in the theme park industry. I loved helping other people. And I never really knew it was an option. Back in, when I graduated high school, 2008, 2009, though those type of majors didn't exist in my school. And it was very normal for people to take like one of like three options in my high school. I grew up in a very, very small town. One, you went to Bowling Green State University and got a degree in education. Two, you went to the University of Toledo and got a degree in like usually nursing or some type of medical field. Or three, you went to a trade school. And none of those things really sounded appealing or like things that I would get really excited about. My mom was a teacher. So I saw all the nonsense that she had to deal with when it came to teaching. My dad did the trade thing. I wasn't really interested in like hands-on stuff. That's not really me. And I didn't think I was smart enough to go into anything science related. So I just kind of wandered around for a bit. And then when I saw a lot of my coworkers at Disney go to, the University of Central Florida, which they have a fantastic hospitality program. I went to UF just because of football, and I wanted a team that was going to be good. It didn't work out for me this past year, but the year before we had a pretty good season. But I was really wanting to. I wanted a good school that I could cheer on at a stadium, and it seemed to make sense at the time.
Well, let's not talk football with this KU fan.
Yeah, please, not this year. Maybe next year.
Maybe we're working on it. So, after Disney, well, first of all, let's stop with Disney for a moment. Obviously, you found a place in the contact center, but you did a lot of other things. Like, aside from the contact center, what was the best part of working at Disney?
My favorite role by far was driving the safaris. It was the one that was my very first role. I got to drive a truck of like 40 people. And it wasn't just like this little small like tour, right? Like, it's 4 to 5 miles large. And it takes 25 minutes to drive through. Just seeing the animals out in the, I say wild, out on the savannah that we had there, and just being able to bring people a little bit closer to nature, something that I was really passionate about, and see those animals living their best lives. I think there was nothing that brought me greater joy than people seeing those type of animals for the first time. And they give you a little bit of freedom to make the tour uniquely your own, which I really enjoyed. I got to put a little personality onto it. We weren't allowed to be super Jungle Cruise cringe jokes, but we could add our own little personality onto it, which I really enjoyed, that they allowed us a little bit of freedom to do that as well. And I always joke all the time, if I could get a job back at Disney part-time, I would go drive safaris in a heartbeat. I would do it again. Absolutely. On the weekends, absolutely would.
Nice. So after you were at Disney and you had kind of cut your teeth in the contact center world, you went to another brand that I think a lot of us are very familiar with, and that was Bed Bath and Beyond. But that seems so different, right? Disney is this whole experience thing and theme parks, and now all of a sudden you're managing a contact center for a retailer. So tell me about that transition and what you learned that maybe you didn't expect during that.
Yeah, so I'll start with maybe like the decision of why. Why would I leave Disney to go to Bed Bath and Beyond, right? I loved my experience at I had a fantastic, I think, 5 years working for them, and I'm still I have a literally have a magic band right here, ready to go this weekend. Like I love Disney, and they're my heart and my soul. But what I struggled with was I wanted to be able to be creative, right? I wanted to be able to be in the meetings where people were making decisions. I wanted to define processes. I wanted to make things more efficient, and I wanted to lead. And it's really, as you can imagine, it's very established at Disney. They know what they're doing. They've done this for years. They're probably the best at it. So being invited into a room where they're making decisions probably would have taken me 20, 30 years, right? And I just happened to get a message from one of my friends, and they were going to be opening up a new contact center for Bed Bath & Beyond. It was brand new in the mall in Ocoee, Florida. And it was just sound like a great opportunity. No processes really existed yet, right? They had a couple of other contact centers throughout the United States, but after talking to one of the other managers, they really wanted to make this one different. This one was going to have a very unique culture thing. This is going to be where people, where we try out different processes. And we're not afraid of change. We're not afraid of doing things differently. And they were kind of speaking right to my soul, because that's exactly what I was missing. And I was really afraid that I was going to miss the culture of Disney, like the big surprise and delights that they do, right? Like, I mean, they go over the top. I mean, every morning I got to, welcome someone who had never been to the park and do their first safari and do, a private safari for them. And, we had thousands and thousands of dollars we could, spend on these type of surprises. And I was very surprised to find out that Bed Bath & Beyond has a very similar culture when it comes to the service that they provide. Customer service always comes first. They have a philosophy that I've kind of stolen from them and put it into place. Where I work today is something called never say no. That's where I learned to never say no, is at Bed Bath & Beyond. And it doesn't mean we're going to give the customer exactly what they're looking for, right?
Right.
But we also don't have to say no. We can find a creative solution that benefits both the company and the customer at the same time. And sometimes that's meeting in the middle. Sometimes it's meeting a little bit closer to them. Sometimes it's a little closer than me. So when I heard that they had this very similar culture and service expectation as Disney, but they were going to allow me to be a little bit more creative, and I was going to be able to lead my own team, it just was the right fit at the right time. So I made my way over.
Yeah, that sounds, I absolutely identify with that. And that was actually one of the comments or the comment that I made on the post that kind of brought us together here today, was about not being able to learn more than when you're building something. We'll get to what you're building today, but right, that was definitely an opportunity there to really kind of learn a lot of new skills and build stuff and, see what works and see what doesn't work. So it definitely sounds like that was a really exciting time.
It was a lot of fun. I think what was so exciting too was the contact center was very, I don't want to say firm, but they were pretty firm on not transferring anybody from any other contact center location, because they really truly wanted this one to be a very unique culture and kind of define service for the organization. So I off the top of my head, I can think of two people who had worked for the company prior. One who ended up being my manager, Angel. She came from working in New York City and came down, but very different from a contact center perspective. And then we had our site leader, Larry. He had come from the Utah contact center, but he was very much like driving that this is a unique culture. So it was a good fit for him too.
Yeah, I get the sense that the culture and kind of the customer service attitude is a pattern with you, because when you left Bed Bath & Beyond, you went to another really well-known organization, and that's Virgin. You were working for Virgin Voyages. So tell me about that experience. Why did you make that change? I have some guesses, but I don't know for sure. Yeah. And I'm wondering what that experience was like.
Yeah, so I was with Bed Bath & Beyond for about 2 years, and I wasn't using LinkedIn very frequently at the time. I'm pretty confident that I had just made one. Someone was like, you really should have a LinkedIn at this point in your life. Like, you really need to get on that. So I was like, you know what? Why not? And I just happened to, someone had messaged me. I don't know what I put on there that made them see my profile. To this day, I have not a clue. And they reached out to me, and it happened to be a recruiter from Virgin Voyages. And she said, hey, like, we're building this brand new adult only cruise line. I see that you've worked at Disney in the past. We're taking a lot of tips from their service philosophy. We actually have a bunch of their cast members that came to work for us now as crew. We were called crew members, even though we were shoreside. We have a lot of you that come over as crew, and we have this, sailor services manager position that is open. We'd love for you to check it out. And I was like, okay, let me see what they're about. And at the time, like, I was kind of going through is retail really for me? I've already worked, I think I had worked 3 holidays at that point. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't know if I have another Black Friday in me, because they can be soul crushing. And I was like, I just don't know if I have it in me again to do this again. So I was like, I really miss hospitality. I kind of miss, just that whole, like, helping people through a vacation, like sometimes like the best time of their lives, right? And so I was like, Virgin Voyages, adult only cruise line. I've always loved the cruise industry. I actually got married on a cruise line. So it seemed like it would be a good fit. So I reached out, did a couple of interviews, and that's how I ended up going from Orlando down here to Fort Lauderdale. I drove down the morning before I was supposed to work, did an interview, and got a job offer on the spot. And the rest is history. So I helped them. First, I started with just a phone channel. Then I helped them kind of elevate their chat, email, and social media teams, help develop some of their quality assurance programs and their framework, and what success would look like in their communications role.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I mean, you bring up something that I think is underappreciated in the customer experience world as it relates to retail. And that is exactly how challenging the holiday season is, Black Friday in particular. Like, a lot of people who are not in retail get really excited to go do their shopping, and there's some, it's bled over into Thanksgiving at times, although that seems to have shifted back a little bit for a lot of places. But that's really hard when you're in retail dealing with Black Friday. What was the worst thing that you had to deal with on Black Friday, without naming names?
Without naming names, I love that. I have actually a great story, and this is more internally, right? So we always rotated our holiday schedule at Bed Bath, and I happened to get Thanksgiving off, and I was going to work, I think it was like New Year's Day or something instead. So we'd always have an AM, mid, and a PM manager. And for those who are working on Thanksgiving, we would do like a nice little spread, right? Usually some like fried chicken, all the sides, and all that good stuff, things that you could get still on Thanksgiving Day. And I had my nice meal at home, had a couple of friends over, we're drinking champagne, having a good time. And I get a call from one of the leader on duty at the time. And she called me sobbing. And they had run out of chicken, the fried chicken, and there's no sides left, right? And so they literally have no idea what to do, because the agents at this point are protesting, right? They have like 300 or 400 people are working. There's no Thanksgiving meal. Things are just, the calls are back to back. It was a madhouse. So I'm like, all right, what do we do? So we run to, I leave my apartment, right? And I head to the contact center, pick up the manager. We run to Walmart, and we just were like, all right, and it's, mind you, it's Black Friday, right? It's like 7 p.m. On Thanksgiving. So it's Black Friday at Walmart. And we just started saying, like, what can we buy them? What can we get them? So we started throwing all this deli meat and sandwiches and mustard and mayonnaise in the cart. And I mean, we must have spent like $200 on just sandwich supplies. And so we bust out a little cart, and we just start going up and down the aisle making sandwiches. And I was like, listen, I promise we're going to get you guys fried chicken, but for tonight, you're getting a sandwich. And you're not going hungry. That was probably, it was so chaotic and it was so stressful at the time, but looking back on it, it was just like, it's such a funny moment.
Emergency.
just going through.
You're an emergency sandwich artist. This should be on your LinkedIn profile.
It really should be.
So it does strike me that among all of the businesses that got really hit hard in 2020, like you were at one of those businesses, right? I mean, the cruise lines were totally shut down when the pandemic hit. And so that's when you were at Virgin. You'd been there for a little over a year at that point. So like where was your mind at as right February, March, April, that kind of time frame came in? And then how did you end up at your next stop, which was Chewy, which is also a really known for their customer service brand?
Yeah, I will tell you, 2019 going into 2020, and then I would say all of 2020 leading into 2021 were filled with a lot of dark moments in my life, both personally and professionally. And I'm sure that, goes for a lot of people. I think 2020 is a year that we kind of wish we could just pretend it never happened, right? And just kind of skip past it. So at the end of 2019, I actually herniated and ruptured one of my discs in my lower back. And I had a discectomy to remove some of the disc matter that was kind of ruptured, and obviously was in a lot of pain, was pretty much bedridden. Had the surgery, and 3 weeks after that surgery, so this is probably mid-January, late January at this point, 2020, my disc ruptured again. The surgery was not successful.
Oh no.
So going through this again, so I remember I was trying to navigate handling an approaching pandemic. My own personal health was very much on the line. And then also trying to stay positive and leading a team of 30, 40 people who were looking to you for guidance, right? And that was a very difficult role to play. And I mean, I'm very thankful. In May, I had a spinal fusion, which solved the issues I was having. So I'm live a fairly normal life today, which I'm very thankful for. But of course, the anxiety of the pandemic and having a team very unsure of what's going to happen. I was very fortunate to make it through our first round of cuts that we had made with the company. And I knew, based on who had left and who was left, I knew, kind of last in, first to go. And I was like, I think I'm kind of in that category of like, I'm probably going to be in that next round. And, we kept saying like, oh, 2 weeks we'll be back in the office. 2 more weeks we'll be back in the office. Oh, next month we'll be in the office. And I was like, you know what? I think it was like end of June. I was like, I really don't think that this pandemic is going anywhere. I think that we're in this for a hot minute. And I was, again, just very fortunate that somebody had reached out to me on LinkedIn. And so if you don't have a LinkedIn, this is your sign to go create one, because you never know what's going to come through.
Jeff is pitching LinkedIn for everyone right now.
Yeah, you have to go get a LinkedIn. So I remember this person had reached out to me from Chewy like a couple of weeks before I had made the decision that I probably needed to start actively looking for other opportunities. And I put them in the back of my mind. I never replied to them because I actually had quite a few team members who came from Chewy to come work for me at Virgin. And the overall experience that they had was not pleasant. So when I saw them, I was like, oh, I'm not going to work for Chewy. I'm gonna skip right past that. Well, fast forward a few weeks, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to go see what they're about for a minute. So I messaged the recruiter back, and obviously you can kind of guess where that headed. It ended up being a very positive thing, and ended up getting an offer and going over to Chewy. And I helped manage their. At first, I was on a phone team for, I think I was on the phone team for about 2 weeks. And then I did a meet and greet with one of our associate directors who led the chat and email team. And she had realized how much experience I had with chat and email. And they really wanted, someone to come in with a lot of experience to kind of help build out that team. Just, Chewy was exploding with the amount of customers that we were receiving every single day because of the pandemic, right? I mean, it was like, take Black Friday, but make it every single day for months on end. That's literally the volume that we were handling. And So after 2 weeks, I actually moved right over to the email team and took over a team there. And then right before I left, I was helping out their chat teams as well.
Yeah, it's really, when you look back on it, it's really crazy to think about the shift that happened with certain businesses where everything just kind of fell off the table. But then there are other businesses like Chewy, like everybody's getting their pandemic puppy and they're not shopping. They're not going out and shopping, right? They're getting everything delivered. And for a company like Chewy, I can imagine, yeah, that their volume just went through the roof and probably really hard to keep up with.
If anyone's watching this and you've never seen 20,000 emails pending in your queue, be grateful, because that's what it felt like.
That's a lot
every single day.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is absolutely a ton of emails. Well, you made it through that experience with Chewy. So let's talk about your new project, because again, I go back to kind of what brought us here today is you've got an opportunity that you've taken with a startup. You're building stuff from the ground up. So tell us about Digs.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, I obviously have quite a few companies under my belt with some really, really nice names. And overall, I've had really great experiences with every single one of them. I've been really fortunate to work with, really great leaders. But one thing is like, I've always just wanted to own my own team, right? Like I always felt like it doesn't matter how far up you go. It doesn't matter how large your team is. You're always asking for someone like, can I please do this? Or can I go in this direction? You're always listening to somebody else's service philosophy, right? And that was very true at Chewy, which again, I had a very strong leadership team, a lot of growth happening there personally and professionally at Chewy. But that one, I hated always asking for permission. Can I do something? And that's just not the environment for me. I like to what's the saying? Do it and then ask for forgiveness later. But they didn't like that. They much prefer you ask for permission. And here we go, like round 4 of somebody reaching out to me on LinkedIn. So somebody had reached out to me on LinkedIn. His name is Bart, and his name was Bart Fish. Give him a little shout out. And he just dropped a resume in my DMs. And I'm fairly confident that he didn't even put any words into it. Like it was just a job description, and he was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Who are you? Like, like what is this?" And he was like, "Oh, hey, like we're building out now that I captured your attention." He's like, "Hey, we're building out our customer service team, and we're looking for someone to lead the org. Just would love to know, like maybe if you have anyone in your network that might be interested, or that you know of anyone." I said, "Oh, well, I would love to learn more about the company," because it was very small at the time. I think it was like 9 or 10 people when I was initially interviewing. I'd love to know more about the company, the brand, kind of like the direction you guys are going in. And I would love to kind of search my network, because at the time I wasn't looking for an opportunity. So I never really thought in a million years that it would be me. So I met with their head of people, Kimberly, who gave me this wonderful backstory about like how the company came to be, our founder and CEO, Zell, why he decided to found the company, and just kind of really refreshing conversation with like a really authentic person. And after that interview, I was like, "Oh, that'd be so interesting." I was like, "Oh man, whoever gets this job is so lucky, because they get to work with like the coolest people, like a guy named Bart Fish, and then like this Kimberly head of people who is just so authentic and so easy to talk to." It's like, man, they are so lucky. And so then I had a conversation with Bart, which really, I guess, was an interview at that point. And at the end of the interview, he said, "You seem to be very aligned with like where we're kind of trying to go. Is this something that you might be interested in pursuing yourself?" And I was like, I didn't really know what to say. I was like, yeah, like maybe, I'm not sure, possibly. I think that's kind of how it went. I was like, maybe if we know more. And that's when he said, like, "I'd love for you to talk to the CEO of the company and have a conversation with him." And man, I must have stopped dead in my tracks. I was frozen, because I've never had to interact at the CEO level before, so I didn't even know how I was going to talk to this guy. And I think it was like 2 days later, I had the conversation with Zell. He was like, "Hey, tell me, your service philosophy. Where do you see the brand going? This is my ideas. that he has for the company. This is where he really sees me fitting in. And 2 hours later, Kimberly called back with an offer, and I had to take it. Just with the ability that they were going to allow me to really develop this whole department, and really just allow me to like envision it and then allow it to come to fruition. There's not a chance that I would ever be able to turn that down. And it's been the best decision that I think I've ever made in my career. I'm just celebrated a year with the company, and of course you saw my post. Very happy with the way that things are going so far.
Yeah, that's really amazing. For those of you watching on video, I just lost half my lighting. I don't know what happened. Oh, no. Like that bulb went out. So
it's on strike.
That's okay. I've got other lighting, and so you get the dark side of this moon over here. So I think what really strikes me about that whole story is that it sounds to me like you weren't even recognizing that this was an interview when you're having this conversation, and then all of a sudden the offer is like right there for you.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I had the conversation with Kimberly, and it was really a conversation of like, what is the right person for this role? And even like, does the job description make sense for like what this person is going to have to do? That's really was going to be my level of involvement. And I remember I think it was the meeting with Zell, they finally labeled it as like customer service interview with Jeff. And I told my husband, I was like, I think that they're interviewing me for the role. And not even realizing, I'm like, before it, like, it's really just been pitched as like, I'm kind of helping, and that I'm going to see if I can find like the right person in my network for them. And then I was like, but man, it says interview. I was like, man, I don't know. They think I want it.
That is amazing. That's a really great story. So now that you've been there a year, obviously that process was insane a little bit, mm-hmm. and really cool. But what's been the most exciting thing that you've been able to do since you've been there now and had that opportunity to kind of just build something yourself?
For me, none of my success would be possible if it weren't for the team that I've built. And I don't want to say that I've built that, but the team that my team has built, right? When I first joined the company, we had 2.5 employees, like 2 full-time, 1 part-time. And I don't know if you've seen in the news, but there's some supply chain disruptions. There have been quite a few supply chain disruptions in the last year, and we're direct to consumer. So of course that has really taken a toll on how we're able to distribute. So our volume was just skyrocketed right there alongside Chewy. Again, pandemic puppies, people getting pets for the first time because they're working from home. They need a place to, crate train, and they different crate training products. And that's kind of where the market is right now. People want something that's going to look really nice in their home, which is, the crate that we offer. And they want something that's safe because they feel as if, their dogs are their babies. And I mean, listen, I have 2 golden retrievers. They're my children. You can't convince me that they're not my children. So they want the safest crate on the market. They want something that's aesthetically pleasing and that's going to function really nicely. So we were dealing with demand that was just out of control at the time as well. And so I remember one of the first things I ever did was a staffing analysis, and really recommending like how many would be like the right people to bring on board. And I think that Zell, the CEO, when I first presented to him, I think that he was expecting me to say like 1, right? Like we probably need 1, and maybe like a temp person too, like maybe like a temp person. And I came in and I was like, you know what? I think we need 4 people. And it doesn't sound like a lot, maybe for a lot of people who are working in really big orgs, but for a department that had 2 people in it, right? And they just got this leader that's going to lead the team. He's coming in and saying like he wants to triple the size of the team, and he's been here for 2 weeks. He probably thought I was absolutely nuts. But I showed him I showed him through a lot of reports, a lot of data that said like these were going to be the right number of people, and I knew that we were going to be launching quite a few products throughout the year as well, and it would just make sense, bring them on board now, train them, coach them, get them up to a really good place, and then you'll have your right amount of people by the end of the year anyway. And I think one of the most rewarding things in my career was when he finally said yes. And he said, yeah, I agree with you. It's 4. So we need to hire 4. And we very quickly got to work on recruiting and training. And since then, I won't bore you with all of the details, but my team is up to 10 now, right? So just in a year, we went from 2 to 10, which is just absolutely crazy. Because when I first started, I was like number 10 or 11 in the entire org, but now my team has that many people. And yeah, there's nothing that brings me more joy, or nothing that I'm more proud of than the team that we've built.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and that is a lot of growth. I mean, I think most of the people who listen to this have some experience with contact centers, not all, and of varying sizes, right? Like 2 to 10, that's a huge difference. It's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was good. It's been good for the company, though.
Yeah.
We found really good people.
Well, I tell you what, I have really enjoyed getting to learn more about you and your journey. And it's really, I feel like for people who maybe are in a hospitality space, and this is something that's come up before, but I feel like there's this synergy between hospitality and just general customer experience, because that's a big part of the job. Hospitality is about customer experience. And so, if you're in hospitality and you're thinking about making a move, like that contact center role might be a good role for you, and certainly vice versa. If you want to actually be in front of people, there are hospitality roles out there that if you're, I don't want to be at home all the time on the phone or what have you, maybe there's a hospitality role out there that's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was, so when I was going to school and finishing up my degree in hospitality, I had obviously left the field at that point, and I was, kind of working with Bed Bath. And you're exactly right. They're almost synonymous with each other at this point, right? The hospitality industry and customer service. It's just that degree really can do a lot for you. And I think what we're seeing in terms of like where the market is shifting is people are expecting a very premium service wherever they go. They want individualized attention. They want people that can empathize with them and understand what they're going through, but they also want it done very efficiently.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
Very synonymous with when you go to a hotel or you go to a theme park, you expect all of those things too. It's very synonymous with one another.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on Next in Queue. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure.